Welcome to Personal Mastery Training. I'm your host, Alvin Brown, former world-class athlete turned entrepreneur and consultant. Join us as we learn from guests who have conquered their inner battles and share their journeys to success. Get ready for inspirational masterclasses and thought-provoking strategy sessions to fuel your path to personal mastery. Let's dive in. All right, so this strategy episode, I want to talk about something that affects all of us. This idea of perfection, the myth, the illusion. I want to break the myth, the illusion of perfection. See, I've been thinking about this a lot. And when I share these thoughts and these epiphanies and these conversations I have with you, these mastery conversations, they were literally from deep dive, 30 years of study of us on many levels, spiritual, mental, emotional. That's what my book is about. Journey, Personal Greatness, Mind, Body, and Soul, a Blueprint for Life, Balance, and Self-Mastery. That's what it's about. So as I've been listening to people, myself, whoever, we're falling in love. And, this idea, what sparked this thought was this idea of enough. Am I enough? Am I enough as a parent? Am I enough as a daughter, a business person? Am I enough as a mother, a sister, anything, a person? Am I enough? And when I would ask the question, what's enough? Because if you don't think you're enough, there must be a measurement then. There's got to be, right? Because how do you know you're not enough if there's not a benchmark? And typically, no one knows. How much money is enough? They don't know. They get to a certain amount, it's not enough. They get 10 more degrees, it's not enough. So when is it enough? No, the bar keeps moving. So we've been sold this idea of perfection, this myth. I remember back in the day, that perfect family. Remember, let's go back to the 60s, 50s, and 60s, right? The picket fence, the white picket fence house. So you'd get there and it'd be the Leave It to Beaver family, right? You'd get home and she looks done up, perfect. The kids are done up. They were in the cardigans, sitting by the fireplace. He gets home, she's totally put together and dinner's ready. No sweat, no nothing. It's in the oven, perfectly done for him. He sits by the fireplace, grabs his pipe, and he reads a paper. And the kids are, hello, Dad, and perfect, and everything's going great, amazing. The picket fence. We've been sold that. So we've been sold all this idea that this is how it should be, and a woman should show up this way, a man should show up this way. All of these little things that, yeah, great. But here's the problem. That's a storybook. That's a movie. I remember Bing Crosby, famous guy around that time. He was the epitome of this picket fence. A perfect. He did Christmas movies, White Christmas, all of this stuff. Great, great, great. Awesome. Everybody loved him until they found out that he was completely 180 degrees. His kids committed suicide. I think a couple of them committed suicide because he wasn't that guy. He wasn't even close to that guy. So over the years, we've all been sold this perfect storybook. Am I good enough? And the problem is this bar moves. I'm not sure if I'm good enough. Am I a good enough father? I don't know. If I'm comparing myself to somebody, if I'm a good enough mother, sister, business person, am I good enough? I don't know. Because the bar keeps moving. Is $1 million enough? Is 10? Is it 10 billion? I don't know. I've heard of people committing suicide because they lost $1 billion, but they had another 3, but they felt like a loser losing $1 billion. So what is good enough? What is the perfect storybook? Is it that I should be this by now? By my age, I should be. What is the story? This perfect storybook. And I've never met that person. I've never met this human being. I've never seen. Sometimes they say, don't meet your heroes. They might let you down. How many of you have met somebody you've always wanted to meet and found out that they're humans and it lets you down? Because we've bought in. Everyone's shooting for this moonshot, this idea of perfect, and they're never getting there. So there's this relentless pursuit of perfect. What is a perfect relationship? People feel shame They stay in a relationship that they shouldn't be in because maybe, and this is some of the people that I work with, maybe people are going to think bad of me because this is my second, third time being in and out of another relationship. So maybe it's me. Maybe I should stay in because what are people going to say? Everything's about what are people going to say. I've seen doctors come into my clinic and my worked with them and they wanted to be something else and not doctors. However, their immigrant parents or whomever it is who may have worked hard to put them through school wanted them to become a doctor. They didn't want to. And they have a whole career where they hate people. They don't do it well because they just get through it. And now they have bills they got to pay and a lifestyle they got to keep up. So now they stay in it. So again, this storybook, this perfect. And if you look at life, life is quote unquote. Actually, I think I'm gonna strike that. Actually, life is perfect. The nature is perfection. Truly, in its imperfection, it's perfect. Actually, it's perfect. Let's just drop that. It's perfect. I can't even. As I'm thinking and talking, I can't even find a reason why it's not perfect. You know what messes it up though? Us. We come to the table with our higher brain, our thinking, our ego, and we want to control nature. We want to control most things. So we go on this quest and we start to mess with nature. The minute some of us have heard of the experiment where they take an animal or a species out of its environment, puts in another environment to attempt to change that environment. All of a sudden, it takes care of the prey and the predator balances off, and all of a sudden something proliferates that shouldn't be there. And every time man, quote unquote, puts their finger on something or messes with the perfection that is nature, there's a ramification that we have to deal with. Right? Our personally and professionally, all the ecology, us, whatever it is, every time we move away from perfection, because the body is this perfectly built mechanism, systems, multiple systems working perfectly together. And the minute we get in there and tweak it and mess with it, we mess everything up for generations. We mess everything up. Every time we come from a lab and take things in isolation, we can't find a solution to well, won't say simple, to things that plague us. We can't find a solution because we're looking in isolation. This perfection, this ecosystem is perfect. So this idea that humans have of perfection is this relentless pursuit, a tiring one that always leads back to shame, guilt, frustration. So the quest here when we talk about personal mastery is how do we throw that book out? And how do we start to live our life? How do we write our own script? Because it's funny, there's a great story, and I share this often, about the pot roast. The partner comes home and his wife's making pot roast and she's cutting the ends off the pot roast. And he's going, "Why you cut the ends off the pot roast?" She goes, "I don't know, that's just what we do." And he goes, "I gotta find out. I'm gonna ask your mom." Ask mom, what do you guys cut the end off pot roast? I don't know. That's how we were taught. No one eats the end of the pot roast. Because yeah, I know people who do. He said, "Well, we don't eat it." So grandma was alive. You go and ask grandma, "Why'd you cut the end off the pot roast?" I don't know. I don't know either why. But all I know is back in a generation ago, the ovens were too small, so we cut the ends off the pot roast. So you see what I mean? So it's not that they don't eat it. It's just that that's what they did. So they continued it. How many pot roast ends are you cutting off? The way you think, the way you are. I am white. I am black. I'm from this country. I'm Italian. I'm Jamaican. I'm this and that. How many? And you live into it. And you can't seem to do something different, even though what you're doing isn't working, because you're driven by this code, this book, this perfect. Are you this enough? Right? So this idea of perfect, I want to break this myth. I've never found it yet. If you know, please send me a copy of this perfect person. Let me know because I'd love to be updated. If I'm wrong, I'm open to suggestions. Please send me that person that you found. And if you haven't found them, then why are you worrying about it? So those who haven't found them and those who don't send me a reply, then I'm going to ask you, why are you worrying about being perfect if you haven't found them yet either? Don't you think it's time that you stop doing that? So I wanted to just continue this. I want you to continue this and journal on this for me. Breaking the myth of perfection. This illusion we have of the perfect blank, fill in the blanks. I think life, as we unfold and as we reach for personal mastery, is perfect for us. Our mess is our mess. And I've heard someone say, if I threw everybody's problem in a pile, we'd pick up our own when we realize what the other person's going through. So let's go ahead, break this myth. If you hear someone talking about, I don't feel enough, please share this with them. And the question I'd like you to ask them actually when they say that is, what is enough? And if they give you an answer, then that's awesome. Let me know what that is, because then at least they can hit a bullseye and aim for it. But typically there's no real answer for enough. So like, subscribe, share. If you know someone who needs to hear this information, share it with them. If it moved you, share it with me. Check me out online. Everything's in the show notes, my connection. All right. Until next time, throw the book out and be relentless about your pursuit for personal mastery. It's a great pursuit, life pursuit. All right. Peace.